Hey class, welcome back to EDUC 3233. We are continuing on with our lecture series on motivation, specifically diving into motivation theories, kind of building upon our last lecture, which was on self-efficacy. So adding on to that, we're going to look at Paul Harris's social cognitive theory. Oops, sorry, there we go. So kind of looking at this, the idea is we can draw upon this theory and look at implications for things like parenting and teaching. And we're going to start by looking at a very broad overview of this theory. And then really the crux of this is kind of looking at this theory and looking at one critical component where self-efficacy fits in. So hopefully you can see the connections between this section of motivation and how it relates back to self-efficacy. So Frank Paharis or Paharis, I'm not sure. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Considered sort of one of the founders of this theory, but it sort of builds upon Bandura's theory of self-efficacy. But the idea is we have triadic reciprocal causation of trying to understand what motivates people to behave. You have behavior. Is that behavior reinforced? Is it directly or indirectly? We have environmental factors like what accesses to resources do you have or don't have, and then personal factors. And this is when we can start adding in elements of like self-efficacy. When we say personal factors, we're talking about, belief structures, for example, motivation structures, belief structures. So self-efficacy is kind of a key personal factor in this particular model. And according to Paharis, this self-efficacy touches virtually every aspect of people's lives. It really influences the choices that people make, the behaviors people choose to engage in, or sometimes choose not to engage in. Self-efficacy plays a critical role in shaping how people experience success and failure. Again, it's that I think I can, and how we interpret our own capabilities is really unique and important in terms of influencing and motivation. So this is building on Bandura, but there's four sources of self-efficacy. Where do we derive the sense of self-efficacy from? One, experiencing success or mastery experiences. If you do something and you do it well, that tends to influence, okay, hey, I'm pretty good at this. If you take a stats class and you get an A in that stats class, you might think to yourself, oh, cool, I have high self-efficacy in statistics because I did really well. Like you have direct evidence to point to. There's also vicarious experiences. You might see somebody like let's say maybe in stats, you have a friend who you consider, to be your intellectually, your cognitively, all these things you consider yourselves to be equal. And your friend took that stats class and your friend did really well. So you're thinking, oh, well, I'm as smart as my friend is. We both do really well in college. I think I could do well as well, that sort of thing. Verbal messages, social persuasion. This is where like teachers and parents can come in and kind of persuade things. Like if you have teachers giving you feedback saying, hey, you're doing really well every time you turn in an assignment and giving you feedback, that kind of thing. If you have people kind of rooting for you, that can positively influence of self-efficacy. And then physiological and emotional states. I mean, when we feel good, we tend to do good. When we're stressed, it's harder to kind of feel that self-efficacy. So our mood, our emotional states also influence that feeling of self-efficacy. So that's really it. We do have one more section on motivation, but this is kind of a short add-on to our already existing topic of self-efficacy. So I'll see you on the other side to wrap up our section on motivation.